Welcome to the Craig and Greg Show, presented by Maximize Leadership. Here are Craig Owens and Greg Harris.
Hey, welcome back to the Craig and Greg Show. I'm Craig. This is Greg. As always, we've got some great content that we want to share with you and be able to invest in you.
Before we get started, though, I'd like to invest in you.
Thank you.
Is that good?
You already have.
Well, that's true, but it's like the repetitive.
More times than I can count.
Try with a calculator. All right, so folks, my friend Craig has written a really cool book on good shepherding and servant leadership. It's coming out in 5 days.
Yes.
The audio is ready. The printed books you can pre-order. You'll have to tell them how to do that. But for the message of shepherd and servant leadership, I found this cool figurine of Christ washing the feet of disciples. And that is probably the most appropriate statue that personifies servant leadership.
Yes.
So I give that to you so you may be constantly reminded of, okay, if I'm not serving today, what kind of leader am I? And then for others who are around, they'll be like, that's that statue that tells us to be a servant. So,
yes. Well, I thank you. This is the quintessential example. This is what the whole purpose behind my book was that leadership is not about standing up as much as it is kneeling down to try to serve other people.
And for the listeners today, it's interesting, that particular gesture was one of the lowest functions in that society, to wash dusty feet.
Yes.
And Christ did that.
Yep.
And I think that's our challenge as leaders. And Craig's book really goes through it really well with challenging us to maybe get out of the way and serve versus, hey, get behind me so I can lead.
Right.
But yeah, buddy, I'm just really proud of you.
Thanks. Appreciate
it's
that.
a great project. The book has already gotten umpteen, attaboys and applauses. So anyway, that's the reason for this figurine here, is to remind us to be servant leaders and wash people's feet.
Yep.
So,
well, and that's a great lead in to what I think that is a very important topic for us today. Because it requires really a shepherd leader, a servant leader, to come alongside of us to give us hope. It's been said that hope is oxygen. And I mean, it's pretty simple, right? I mean, you could try it at home if you want to. Hold your breath, just exhale and don't inhale. You're going to run out of energy. You're going to run out of drive. But if somebody can come alongside you and serve you by breathing hope into your life, boy, that's just going to soar your leadership.
Yeah. So this segment's, hopeful, hope-filled, hope dealer. You have to really enunciate, because it could be dope dealer, and that's not what this is about. It's hope dealer. And I put my Hope College mug out here just to kind of personify the hope. There is hope, and then there's hope.
Right.
Yeah. But I think as a leader, Craig, one of our challenges, and we'll go back and forth, but I think the challenge for us is we tend to hold all the great emotions as a leader instead of saying, hey, let me fill up your cup a little bit with hope and tell you that it's going to be all right. We have plans for you. There'll be a future here. And that's really what hope is about. It's focusing on the future when you're in the present, like it's going to get better, or we're going to achieve. And as a leader, I think encouraging people is part of that hope filling of our roles.
There's a proverb, and it's been translated several different ways. It'll say, without vision, people perish. One of the translations says, without vision, people cast off restraint. They don't know where they're supposed to go. And I don't think that it is a stretch, and I don't think we're being unscriptural to say without hope that there's that people, they don't really have a future. And I think that leaders need to come in because we get so bogged down in the moment. Leaders have to be able to come in and say to somebody, hey, listen, right now it might appear that it's a little dark, but let me help you open your eyes and let me help you look down here to see this big picture. And that's really how we breathe this hope and this encouragement into other people's lives.
To me, it's very adrenaline oriented. For me, a leader, to invest in another leader with hope.
Yes.
It is almost our t-shirts, iron sharpens iron. It's just so exciting when they grasp, you're right.
Yes.
I'm looking at the dirt on my shoes today,
Yep.
but when I walk 4 more miles, it's going to be primrose path. It doesn't mean it's not going to have adversity,
Right.
but there is a future. And I think biblically, that's a leader's role, but I think even psychologically,
Yes.
it's a leader's role within business because we can be so task-oriented or month-end oriented.
Yep.
How do we do? Well, how we did was the 22 days that you worked Monday to Friday with your team, that's really how you did. Because the hope that they gain, it's almost reciprocity as a team.
Sure.
Someone's going to have a bad morning. Right? Someone's going to have a difficult weekend. Someone's going to receive a tough call on the phone. But as leaders, our job is to really, and we can even break it down to family, your kids. If they don't have that sense of hope, they wander.
Right. Well, why don't you talk a little bit about, obviously, we've used a phrase a lot on this podcast, you can't give to other people what you don't have. Mm-hmm. How do you, as a leader, put hope in yourself so that you have something to be able to go and give to other people in your team? So how do you breathe hope into you?
Mm-hmm. Well, it kind of is a plug about coaching, because if you have a network of leaders that really can, not within your organization, but like outside, like in your network or your community, it's really critical to be around those who are hopeful.
Yes.
So if I have 5 buddies like you, I'm going to derive some joy, some energy. Sometimes it's refocus, because people like yourself and myself, if we're around other people, we generally look to the future. Mm-hmm. We're not looking back thinking, yeah, the good old days, when the Tigers played at, the field and that one field with all the dirt, no lights, and that's the olden days.
Right.
And today it's, where are we going? What's it going to be like? I do think there is a number of things, and we've talked about this in other podcasts about how do we take care of ourselves as leaders. Rest, obviously, meditation, study, prayer, being around good worship, getting involved with other people who are positive, it helps. But it's not for us to hold. That's why I like hope-filled. I can fill your cup and your cup, and it gets to almost the empowering part, where you're encouraging them to actually see, you know what, I can carry this too, this banner of hope. And it's not like unrealistic. It's an optimism that's inside.
Yes.
And if we don't protect it, we will lose some of that. And
it's not faking it, right?
No.
I mean,
no.
Hope can still be, if you're having a bad day, you can still say to somebody, hey, let's address this. I'm having a bad day.
Right.
However, I can still look down the road and have hope for the future. So it's not about faking it.
No, I think you can address a current moment and say, this is not a hope moment.
Yes.
This is, we're in the dirt, we're digging, we got to grind it out. That's not like super fun, right? But in the end, there is always hope. Sometimes you just have to do some of the labor. And that's part of where I think people struggle is they get too tired. The labor then is defeating for leaders.
Yes.
It's just like, I'm just so tired, so weary. There is a bad quote out there. It's, the world is run by weary people. And I think that's somewhat true. So pick your friends wisely. Right?
Yes.
You don't get to pick family, but you get to pick your friends. And do they make you better? And do you get that chance to sharpen your iron and give people a dose or a cup or a pour of hope? And they look to us for that.
Yes.
I mean, that's what's fascinating.
Well, you talked about being filled with hope so that you can be a hope filler for other people. And think about some organizations or some people that think that the way that they give people hope is to have a once a year vision casting time, or the slogans up on the wall. One of the things that I appreciate about you and your hope filling into other people is how non-cookie cutter it is, how personalized it is. Talk a little bit about how you do that, how you can spot like what somebody needs and how you then speak that message of hope to them in a way that they're going to get it.
It does take extra effort because you can't really say, hey, nice job, nice job, nice job. It doesn't mean the same because that might not be what you want to know.
Right.
Nice job when you actually phone that client back and solve that problem without them calling it. That was really good. Oh, And so it sort of endorses a behavior, which starts with the heart, right? To serve others, like whether you have clients or customers. I think the other part that is fascinating about hope is words are chosen for the right fit. So if I just came by and you did a great job and all we need to do is this, Nux, you know that I believe in you.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Hey, nice job. Let's go get another one.
Right.
That kind of a thing. Others want you to sit down and say, I noticed this and that was really good. Oh, really? And so you have, a different dive-in point. And it's not a cookie cut. Otherwise, so I was around a person who was in management and he really didn't know how to do that very well. And so one of the things that we would catch him doing with others is, I really like that tie. Well, I wore that tie 2 weeks ago and you didn't say anything. Right. So it's not really a compliment that has merit or value.
Right.
It's just
I picked that out at the store.
Yeah,
right?
I got it on the clearance rack at Goodwill. Just kidding. But I think that particular person really struggled with giving hope, being an encourager. And so just saying stuff about an outfit is, to me, that's just dressing on the person.
Yeah.
I think you really do, and that's the other part for leaders, that you really do need to know your people.
Yes.
To be able to motivate, inspire, encourage with hope. And what I think is kind of fascinating, and you'll have troubles. You got to meet with someone and say, hey, that we can't do that again. That was not the best idea. So what are some other ways to do it? Because tomorrow will be a better day and you'll be able to, fix it.
Right.
That's all. You can kind of cloak corrective stuff with hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a challenge for us leaders versus saying, you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a job tomorrow? Or
there's no hope there, no.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I think people, and it's not talking about maybe candy coating it, but you do really need to pay attention to what do they like. So someone likes, sour gummies, and others like cinnamon bears, and some like chocolate. Well, it's all candy, but everyone's a little different, and that's what makes leadership really soar. But it makes it very challenging for a leader to, how do I deliver this for the person? So.
Well, and we've talked about this before. You can't be an effective leader if you just closet yourself away.
No.
And you got multiple layers of gatekeepers to get there, because what you were just describing, saying, okay, I know this person is good with the fist bump. This person wants me to sit down and specifically praise them. Somebody else wants me to coach them on something and say, that was good, but here's how I think it can get better. Yeah. You don't learn that stuff by sitting in the office. You have to be out among your team, walking around,
right.
With this idea of, I'm out here to learn about them so that I can serve them.
Yeah, it takes effort.
Yes.
And I think for leaders, particularly if your organization is in a little disarray, whether it's market share or government regulations or the economy or whatever, getting enough staff, there are always challenges.
Yeah.
But when the leader invests in the next leaders, that leader doesn't have to talk to all 300 employees.
Right.
I think that's the reasonable. But the ones that go to all 300 employees, you better know that second layer of leaders, because that's who we're investing in. That's who we're coaching, role modeling, mentoring. And it's very exciting to be a hope-filled leader and a hope dealer. But it does take effort to be personalized.
Yes.
In 1 Corinthians, the love chapter, at the end it goes faith, hope, and love. And I find it interesting. Hope is put between the two strongest feelings, right? Faith is believing something maybe you can't see or feel all the time. Love is the challenge of, how do I do that unconditionally? Hope is in the middle. I find it interesting that's how the Bible wrote it. Because without hope, it's tough to have a faith in the future. Mm-hmm. And without hope, it's tough to really fully love someone the correct way without knowing, hey, in the end, it's going to be okay. We're going to win.
Yes.
I love that combination, and that's actually the acronym of the camp you ran years ago. Was right. Faith, hope, and love. I just think that's a really strong word, hope. And obviously, went to the college, and that's a great college. But one of the symbols of that college is an anchor. Mm. So one could say an anchor would slow you down. No, because adversity will attach itself to a business and to a leader.
Sure.
And with an anchor, you can handle some of the adversity and storms.
Absolutely.
And that's what I love about hope is, hey, we can pull the anchor up when we're done and then we can sail further. But we have to stay protected here in the harbor. And that's sometimes leadership's decision is to get in the harbor and be safe. And other times, I mean, the ship was built to be out, not on the dock.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I think Napoleon said it well. He said that leaders are dealers in hope. That's how we have to deal all the time in hope. So why don't you give our viewers today, give them a challenge. What's something that they can walk away from this and start putting into practice in their own life, in their organization, to be not only hope-filled, but hope-fillers for other people as well.
Yeah. We hope that this has been beneficial because hope is something that everybody needs, particularly when maybe the world is kind of taking some turns that we weren't quite ready for or that we desire. I think for us as leaders, we need to have some goals. Like that's a characteristic I'm really going to work on. So I wrote down 4 that I thought were really applicable to me on my journey of being a hope dealer and then sometimes when I wasn't, you know. So one of the things that are characteristics of hopefulness is cultivates optimism. So you can be in a meeting, you might not have the best second quarter report, but some good news comes out and a leader will share that in such a way to derive hope or momentum beyond the current report sitting on your desk. Mm-hmm. So the optimism is very catchy. It's just very cool. It builds on problem solving, which getting back to leadership, that's what we often do. I'm convinced if I was going to pick a picture other than this beautiful one, a fireman's hat might be my next one, like a symbol of leader, because you're going to have to put some fires out.
Right.
I mean, you don't want to drown the people, but you got to put some fires out.
Right.
I think the competitiveness comes out in hope. Like, no, I'm not going to let you be there. You're going to rise up.
Yes.
You're going to rise up with us. You have us. We're in your foxhole. We got your back.
I believe in you.
Right. And I think that's really catchy for people, particularly if they have a bad moment.
Yes.
Where I think hope changes it. It's not a bad future.
Right.
It's a difficult moment, but not a difficult future. And the last one increases positivity amongst your team or even outside your team where clients or vendors, suppliers feel it. And it reduces negativism. Because if there's a good future, why would I want to say a bad word today about today? Yeah, it's a difficult day. It wasn't the best day, but tomorrow. But tomorrow.
Right.
Tomorrow, yeah. So I think for us leaders, I think but tomorrow is our challenge. There's one quote that I thought was really good. There's no great future without a great level of hope. And you spoke of vision, and you're very talented in vision and sharing it. And I think that's one thing leaders, they know what to do. Don't assume that they know what to do. Speak into their lives, be there with them, show them sometimes, because the best learning is observation.
Yep.
But as leaders, we have our task cut out for us. But hope dealing is such a thrill. And so that's our challenge to you leaders is be a dealer.
Right. Well, as Greg mentioned earlier, one of the things that is very important for us as leaders is to be filled with hope ourselves. And as he said, we need to be around those positive people that can encourage us and breathe oxygen into us. And that's what our coaching huddles do. So if you go to maximizeleadership.com, there is a page on there about our coaching huddles. You can read more information. And even if you have more questions about it, there's a form on there that you can fill out, and then we'll get back to you and we'll share with you some more information about upcoming huddles. But that's why we're here. We want to invest into you. We want to pour hope into you. We're very hope-filled people, and so we want to be hope-fillers with you as well. So check out those coaching huddles. Feel free to send us questions at any time. You could go on Twitter, Maximize Podcast, and you could tweet at us there a question that you have or maybe a topic that you'd like us to cover in upcoming episodes, and we will do our best to work that in. We look forward to investing in you again in the future. Go be a hope-filler today.
Get in touch with Craig and Greg through Twitter at Maximize Podcast or at MaximizeLeadership.com. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of The Craig and Greg Show.